I'm Hazel, it's Saturday today, which makes it time to sit down and catch up on the WoW news of the week, what I have been up to, and answer some of your questions. We did skip last week in the interest of getting the raid guides done in time. I am back, and I thank you for your patience. This week, we got big news when Blizzard broke that 10.1.5 is going to be entering the PTR testing stage, and we have more details about what it's going to include. The big headline this time is they are officially confirmed adding a third specialization to Evokers called Augmentation. Augmentation Evoker is a new DPS spec that centers on empowering allies to increase their damage output, forming the first modern support class that Blizzard has ever added to the game. They are using Black and Bronze Dragonflight magic to do damage while augmenting their allies at the same time. One of their core mechanics is Ebon Might, which, among other things, raises the primary stat of 4 nearby players. I'm really excited about this, not because I plan on playing it personally, but as a healer, I cannot think of any better way to get your raid to stack up for healing than having them all jockey to stand closest to the Aug Evoker for their buff. They sound really cool. I am very curious to see how balancing them goes, though, both on PTR and then in practice on live servers. It seems like the kind of thing that at first glance could very easily become either mandatory to bring to your key group or your raid, or just not very good and satisfying to play. They did mention in the announcement post that they are working on introducing some new combat log hooks so that add-ons like your damage meter and community websites like Warcraft logs can effectively measure your performance, which makes it sound like they want the damage that you are enabling other people to also do might count for you, which might help balance them if people are kind of considering that when they're looking at how much damage they're doing. I'm very interested to see how it plays out. They are on PTR and coming in 10.1.5. Another big headline from the 10.1.5 update notes is Warlock Racing. Sorry. It's Warlock Races. Not a Burning Rush-a-thon, but more playable races for Warlocks. And by more, I mean the rest of them. Night Elves, Draenei, Lightforged Draenei, Pandaren, Kultiran, Tauren, High Mountain Tauren, Maghor Orcs, and Zandalari Trolls will all be able to make Warlocks coming in patch 10.1.5. There are definitely arguments out there that many of these races being able to make Warlocks makes no sense lore-wise. I'm personally not that bothered by it. I feel like the different races of Azeroth have been all mingling and hanging out with each other for long enough that some of them could have been a bad influence, and I don't think that the demons are all that picky about who they're, making blood pacts with and whatnot. That's just me, but I am stoked for this, and I'm very curious to see if it signifies kind of a broader trend of them really relaxing the race class combo restrictions and letting more classes be any race at all, especially for any classes that don't require extra art. I think things like shamans and druids that require extra specifics, maybe to some extent paladins that also have like race-specific class things, those ones I don't expect to see just unlocked to everybody all at once anytime soon, but a lot of those original kind of core classes have definitely been expanded to be playable by pretty much everybody. Actually, I'm looking through the list, and aside, with the exceptions of paladin, shaman, druid, and then the newer classes like Demon Hunter and Evoker, Death Knights can be lots of people. Maybe not everybody, but lots of people. Maybe everybody. I don't actually remember. Yeah, short of the new classes, I think that all of these existing ones, they really expanded monks. They're expanding warlocks. Mage, rogue, priest, I'm pretty sure, got the all races treatment. Hunter, warrior. Maybe my prophecy is just history. Maybe it already happened. While we're on the topic of Warlocks, they also announced more Warlock pet customizations, many of which have been data mined on the PTR, and the ability to change the customization of your Warlock pet in the barbershop. So much like druids in their forms, using a glyph that teaches you a new Warlock pet customization just teaches it to you. It's not a thing that you have to toggle out, and then you can go and change them at the barbershop for free. Druids have enjoyed this functionality for a bit now, and I'm excited to see it expanded to Warlocks. Other news from 10.1.5 that's going to make you want to make some alts. Nearly all of the allied race unlock requirements will be gone. The only remaining one is that you must have a level 40 character on your account. It used to be level 50, but you don't need to do the campaign. You don't need to get the reputation. So if you have been dreaming of making your very own Kultiran, like my boy Barnaclus right here, but you haven't felt up to going and doing Pridemore Admiralty rep, There's lots of great allied races, but Kultirans in particular I think stuck out as having some of the longest unlock requirements, just like their quest took forever and involved a lot of traveling all over the continent, while Jaina teleported herself all over the continent and then let you fly to catch up. On those alts in 10.1.5, your mount training will now be auto-learned at the appropriate level, so no more going to the riding trainer, and presumably no more spending gold on it. They made mount training effectively cheaper over the years by kind of squishing epic flying down to just one thing that you pay for, but now apparently you don't even have to pay for it. They're also offering a faction-specific free flying mount at level 30 to get you into the skies, and lots of other cool stuff in the notes and hitting the PTR as time goes on here. Garrison and Dalaran Hearthstones are now becoming toys. I saw that one kind of jumped out at me. Appearance tracking actually is another one from the notes that sounded really neat, allowing you to track the source of uncollected transmog appearances just from your default UI. There are plenty of transmog collecting add-ons like All the Things and Better Wardrobe Helper and Can I Mog It that will help you figure out which things that you can learn and where to find them. But this makes it sound very easy to tab through your journal of things that you don't have visually, find something that you might actually wear, and then add it to your quest log and go off and go look for it. The new patch is also going to come with an 8-boss Mythic-only mega dungeon that I have to imagine will get split into 2 parts for Mythic Plus and Heroic later on down the road. And it is slated for summer, which feels soon based on the weather. It's hard to get excited about or think about a new dungeon just yet for me, just because we are so in the thick of coming to grips with the Season 2 dungeon pool. Plenty of things happened this last week or two. We had the patch come out, we had the new season start, we had the new raid open, new dungeons were nerfed and nerfed and nerfed again. We haven't done one of these videos since the patch, and I've been playing 10.1 for a bit now, so I wanted to kind of give you my first impressions of all the major bits that I've gotten to play with so far. The new raid is awesome, it's very fun, and I like that it's pretty easy to learn. A lot of the mechanics are pretty visually self-explanatory in this one. Not saying that you don't want to watch a raid guide if you want to watch a raid guide, but if you just kind of went in blind, I feel like you would have a better chance of figuring out Aberrus than you would have had for many earlier raids. And I think that made progression feel more fun and less frustrating because it wasn't so much about understanding the fights as just practicing how to execute them. It also made progression fast. I raid in a heroic guild that usually clears and stays in normal for a little bit first, and we actually full cleared normal on our first week, which never happens. But this time around, we crushed that raid on our first pair of raid nights, including a guild first normal Sarkareth kill. My feeling is that heroic is going to be tighter tuned. I'm just assuming that based on the fact that normal was pretty easy. I'm imagining that maybe they want to give people an easier time getting into the raid, especially for pugs, but then offering some harder progression content for guilds outside of Mythic. But I'm just imagining that that could be totally a fantasy. For Mythic Plus, I have been finding keys to be very fun. I do not miss having a seasonal affix at all. I actually hadn't thought about the fact that it was missing until just about now when I was reflecting on the season so far. And having the second standard affix hold off until key level 14 has been really nice for learning and relearning these dungeons without having to deal with a whole circus of extra stuff. There was absolutely some problem bosses when all of these keys first came out, and I'm sure some of them still persist, but they have done waves and waves of nerfs and tuning and adjustment to the different parts of the Mythic Plus rotation that were particularly angry. The second boss of Vortex Pinnacle comes to mind. I did that one pretty early on a 16, and we killed it. We did not time it. The new zone is fine, but honestly, when I am thinking about the patch, it kind of pales in comparison to the fun that I'm having with everything else. I'm liking keys, I'm liking the raid, I'm enjoying crafting actually. The new season has kind of reinvigorated the auction house, and I am having lots of fun making gold, just cranking out different alchemy products whenever I find them to be profitable. I'm using an add-on called Craft Sim here to do the math for me because most things aren't profitable if you're not accounting for multi-craft, but you have to account for multi-craft and inspiration and all the rest of it. A lot of stuff in the Zaralek Caverns feels a little bit less rewarding relatively compared to the Forbidden Reach and other endgame zones, and I think it's just because... Why do I think it is? I think that if you are an endgame geared player that is doing content that is doing organized content, you're not going to need very much from the caverns aside from collecting, which feels a little bit lower priority. I've noticed that the rares in the Zarelite caverns are not nearly as active as the ones in the Forbidden Reach continue to be. And I think that in the Forbidden Reach, people across the game needed those rares for keys. They wanted those rares for alt gear. Whereas in these Zarelite caverns, you know, you've got like Drake Watcher manuscripts and then some Lobi crest fragments and flight stones and stuff. But a lot of people will have better ways to get better crest and flight stones. So the rares don't sound quite as good because it's a smaller part of the player base that needs them, I guess. And then if not enough people are doing them, then they just kind of become undoable because you don't want to like sit around all day waiting for enough people to show up. So speaking of the item upgrade system, that is starting to really grow on me now that I'm kind of coming to grips with it and how it works. One of my guildies started calling the flight stones Flintstones, like the vitamins, and that's kind of catching on. One thing that really confused me is that the Flintstones have a holding cap of 2,000, but it's labeled in the interface as a season cap, which makes it sound like once you get 2,000, that's all you can get until like a future week or something like that. But if you spend them, you can get more, and that's just kind of weird with the UI. I didn't understand that right away, and then once I understood it, I was mildly annoyed by the language, I guess. I think where it's really going to shine is for catching up on alt gearing with the discounts that you get in each slot for having obtained a better piece in your main. I think that it will make it very fun to kind of set up alt in the endgame because it won't take that much stuff to actually upgrade the gear that you're getting as you start to play your alt. And then I want to get back into solo shuffle, but I haven't tried it yet because apparently our conquest gear that we paid conquest for last season is not good enough to get you the PvP item level you need to get into solo shuffle in season 2. I should have banked up honor. Apparently they didn't reset it, which I thought for sure that they would. So back to the honor grind, I suppose, to get some new blue gear so that we can get back into solo shuffle where we're going to get buckets of honor. And then as far as what I've been up to this week, we've been cranking out raid guides with one more on the way for Sarkareth. I say we. It's the cat and I, we. Thank you very much for supporting those. It warms my little gremlin heart when I hear about people linking them in their Discords and sharing them with pugs and having success in the raids. So thank you. I've been playing a lot of WoW. I've been doing my own keys, getting into my own raid. Snail dailies, snailies, pretty important when they're working anyways. And then questions from 2 weeks ago. Ben wants to know, I know WoW is your primary. Any plans on giving D4 a shot? So it does look great, but with the utmost respect, I would say not really. I think the feeling of it, all of my friends are going in on it, and it kind of feels the way that I felt as a kid. You know, when your whole family is going to go to the park without you because you don't want to go. And then you just kind of stay at home with the house to yourself and like relax. That's kind of the feeling I'm getting from Diablo 4. I like Diablo 3 a lot, but I find those types of games to be so like click heavy and mouse use heavy that they're a bit hard on my hands. So I am happy to sit this one out and take the extra time to catch up on sleeping, fishing, IRL fishing. The season's open. The weather's nice. I gotta go fall in the ocean. Not saying I want to, but it's a distinct possibility. And that has been my week. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions that you think I can help you with in a news video, please pop them in the comments of the most recent one and include the word question to help me find it. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day.